Hello, everybody. Welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Jules.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. Jules Gill. Now, you might be pulling a slight face because we seem to be talking about the fact that Marvel Midnight Suns has got a card-based loot system in it, which is dividing the fans right down the middle. The reactions online, the reactions to the trailers have had massive dislike bars. And I woke up to your messages this morning just going, ha 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 ha, what the living hell is this?
That's a cleaned up version of what I sent to you, because the thing is that as anyone who's even passed like a cursory glance over my life will know, I am a huge XCOM fan. I'm also a huge Marvel fan. So when the two Venn diagrams started to collide, I was just like, oh, Ego the Living Planet, here we go, sort of thing. It was going to be good times.
What could possibly go wrong, you might think?
Problems began to arise, though, when Fireaxis were quick to point out, hold on there, sailor, put your wallet away. We clearly don't want your cash, because even though we could have easily just made a Marvel XCOM game that the world over would have bought in droves, we're not making, it's decidedly not XCOM. They stated that, and I was like, okay, cool. Don't want my money then. And then they released this gameplay footage, and oh boy, if you're taking a randomized percentage to hit chance and then add in a randomized deck of cards that you might be able to not even draw the superpower that you want to use, you are doing double RNG, which I'm pretty sure is the worst thing ever.
I never thought this would be a thing. Like you said, it's a random number grind for your random number grind. We don't know if there's going to be percentage-based attacks, kind of like XCOM, but assumedly there will be. And the idea of drawing, like even your basic moveset not having a reliable attack or melee attack or whatever, and it all being card-based, I get is a massive red flag. I want to throw one thing in because they've been on damage control almost immediately. This is from about 15 hours ago at the time of recording, from the main Marvel Midnight Suns Twitter account, just saying, hey folks, regarding our battle card system, there are no loot boxes in Marvel's Midnight Suns or related microtransactions to get more cards, i.e. gamma coils. We will have purely cosmetic character skins for purchase that do not affect game balance in any way, which is, you can throw that on the pile, because I am, yes.
Back of the class right here, sir. I've heard this one before. I've heard this exact line being used by so many PR people. They are so quick to state, they're like, it's got no all the microtransactions, they're just cosmetic. They're not affecting gameplay. That is fair enough. But the amount of times that we've seen people backpedal on this and be like, actually, we are putting a bit of a tweak in here.
Well, the thing is, my assumption, and it's not just to say they're lying. I don't think they're lying. I think that the release state of the game will be cosmetic only microtransactions. I just don't buy that a publisher like 2K, it's not, maybe Fireaxis came up with the idea of a card-based Marvel game on their own, or maybe it was publisher interference. I just don't think you build a card system like this if you're not going to monetize it over time. Yeah. And I think, that'll be the way that it goes.
Every single collectible trading card game operates on the same thing of there are rares, there are ultra rares, sort of things, mythics. You want to collect those ones because they tend to be the best. So of course, there is going to be an incentivized nature to spend money to get those ones there. Either buying those single cards or, like we've seen in pretty much the physical example of a loot box, opening a pack of cards. So why would you choose to make a game that doesn't actually go on this mentality? Like I just don't believe it. I don't believe it.
In game as well, there was this exact bit where people have gone, oh, for God's sake. It's the bit when Doctor Strange is opening the loot box and he just goes, here's your 3 cards, turn them around and reveal what abilities you've got. And have you unlocked the stab for Blade?
How many times have we seen this in video games? The 3 cards come up and you just go, blink, blink, blink. Oh, look at that.
I'm glad I paid full price for this. I think,
I know. I want to say, just for the record, because even though we're just doing a bit of hyperbole right now, because the game itself might actually turn out to be really, really good.
Way more positive on it than you.
Yeah, and this thing, I'm not writing it off completely. I just feel like it's a bit of a double slap in the face when you just go, it's not an XCOM game, when a Marvel XCOM game would just make metric shed loads of money, and then just to say, oh, it's actually got a card-based mechanic as well, that definitely will lead to some microtransactions down the line.
That's the other part of my prediction. I predict that it will release, a priced unit product at launch, and I think over time, because I think all the people who are behind the card system are assuming that obviously the game will be successful, and I think after that initial launch period, they'll shift to a free-to-play model where they'll then monetize the card system. That is my assumption. If that happens, you heard it here first. I just, You think about 2K and like you look at the rundown of their titles, and yes, there is, Borderlands 3 came out pretty unscathed. There's a lot of DLC for it, but it's very solid. It's solid enough. It's another Borderlands. And the Mafia titles have been solid enough. The Definitive Edition is great. And there's obviously BioShock. They allowed BioShock to happen. But the major red flag for me is what they do with the NBA games, which is they have literal casinos in those games, like slot machines, spinner wheels. They're very self-aware about it. And I think that it's one of those talking points where, you think of X publisher, okay, they get given the Marvel license, what will they do with it? I don't trust 2K to not do a 2K with it. And then, they were given the NBA license and they rinsed the living hell out of it, and they continue to. So I think that's going to be the way that it goes.
We're basically judging these on precedents that they have set themselves.
Yeah,
we're not actually out here just saying, oh, we don't like this company and the way that they do stuff. It's just the fact that the stuff that they have done has already given us cause to doubt what is going to be the end product of what could potentially be a fantastic game. Now, if we were to take a look at the actual gameplay elements that we were shown, as you were saying, Scott, you're very positive.
I was going to say we should end on a positive.
Yeah, there is actually like a lot of good that's being shown in there. Like it's got that Firaxis polish. Like a lot of people are criticizing the graphics, but it's actually meant to be viewed from like a up perspective, like a withdrawn perspective. So you don't need a lot of detail on the models, in my opinion. It's completely fine for what it is. I like the use of environmental like hazards to be able to do damage to opponents and stuff. And you were saying like Wolverine doing the big X claw smash and knocking an enemy into environmental hazards. That's fine. Love to see more sort of innovative game design like this. Don't love the fact that there's not a grid-based game at the moment. I don't love the fact that we're not seeing that it seems like a lot of the enemies seemed almost like stacked on top of one another or too close. And I was like, oh, I'm not entirely sure if I like this look. But
the grid thing's interesting because I don't know if it's because me and you are old bods and we've played a lot of XCOM, we've played a lot of tactic stuff, where it's just a go-to thing to assume that there'll be a grid thing, a grid system. But at the same time, there is like the Wasteland series, Divinity Original Sin, like they have been turn-based titles that have just let you go anywhere, and maybe let you line up attacks differently that way.
The only problem that I have with taking it off of the grid, as it were, is because of the fact you have some area of effect, spells or attacks, and if you were just not lined up properly, you might not be able to hit as many enemies as a grid-based style thing would, because you'd be cool, I can hit all of these squares here, but because I've positioned my guy a pixel to the right, he's now not able to be attacked, and I've already used my move allowance. Like it can result in just a bit of finicky gameplay that I don't like.
There's definitely that side of it with the card thing. That's the thing, is as much as I was trying to divorce the card side of it and be like, let's talk about the positives. The reality is, whenever you think about the combat, you're only going to get served up whatever you've been able to get from the loot boxes in the first place. But it's not like you can't do a really good deck builder. I forget what
not at all.
The name of the last SteamWorld game was that became a deck builder. It might just be SteamWorld's. It's not SteamWorld Dig, whatever. One of the SteamWorld games was a very good deck builder RPG.
Well, isn't Slay the Spire like doing the rounds at the moment? That's got deck building.
Yeah, and I guess
there's even this amazing horror, survival horror game that I think just left the Xbox Game Pass thing, which was based on, it was deck building, but it was a horror survival game, and a survival horror game, and I love that. I was just thought that was brilliant. There's ways to implement the deck building mechanic into titles and have it work really, really well. Hand of Fate is another great example.
I was just going to say Hand of Fate,
love that game. But it's when you start maybe applying it in a sort of suggestive microtransaction way, like the fact that they're mentioning the microtransactions straight away. It's just
they know
kind
exactly
of like
what people are thinking,
yeah.
I think another thing as well, which is another potential reality as to why the dislikes are so big, is that when they showed this off at Gamescom, the opening night live thing, it looked like another Marvel game. And if people don't know who Firaxis are, and they didn't read the rumors and the leaks and stuff about it being an XCOM Marvel game, maybe they just thought it was going to be another hack and slash action style Marvel game. And now they're seeing this and just going, oh god, it's not that at all. And I wonder if that is maybe also part of the dislike side of things.
Yeah, you're kind of like disappointing two sets of fans, really, aren't you? You're disappointing the people who wanted the XCOM experience and the other people who didn't want the XCOM experience, didn't know that it was by the developers, and now seeing that the action is very slow in comparison to what they were possibly promised. But overall, it's Firaxis, so I do trust them to some extent, because they do turn out polished titles and they do put a lot of thought into how their games play. I just am a little bit reticent to throw all of my weight behind this because of the fact that microtransactional cards. Listen, I've already got my lifeblood hooked up to MTG Arena. Like, I've already spent all of my coins and hard-earned shillings on that, so I got none left for you.
I mean, also the last Magic game they did completely fell apart. The whole Magic Arena thing. I know that was because they tried to do like a top-down Diablo-y type thing, but still, it feels like that's a very fine line to walk, especially right now. I feel like the worst of all the microtransaction stuff was in 2017, and we've sort of had waxing and wanes. It's waxed waxed and waned a little bit. And even EA are doing a bit better at the minute. So it's almost like the baton of hate can maybe go to 2K because like Ubisoft had it for a bit, and then Bethesda had it for a bit, and then EA had it for a bit. And it's like, it's really hot, this. Can you take this for a bit?
Do you imagine that they have like little secret meetings where they all like, it's like the shadowy, faceless members from the cabinet that you have in the XCOM games. And they're just like, you better take this one. It's like, I don't want this one. It's like, you better take this one for a bit. Just have it for a couple of months.
Like, well, yeah, what do you guys have planned? Okay, oh, that's way worse than us, right? You take this for a bit, and we'll get away with this for a bit while you do that. Yeah, I think right now it's obviously leaping to a few conclusions, but there is an obvious through line. There's an obvious history to the reality of the mechanics that they're baking into this thing. And I think people are right to be skeptical. I think the game has to prove itself. It's not out until next year anyway. March 2022 is the date for right now. But let us know what you think down in the comments below of Marvel's Midnight Suns. Are you psyched? Are you worried? Where are you at? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I've been Jules. Sorry, you don't usually feed me the exit line like that. I've been Jules for WhatCulture.com. Before I go, just want to say one thing, and that is that Scott and I will be back tomorrow on doing the UBP, which is our Untitled Banter podcast. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask us, gaming, movie, food related, or otherwise, then drop them down below. We'll hoover them all up and regurgitate them into some pleasant audio format for you.
It'll be a beautiful, beautiful thing. We do the Untitled Banter podcast every Friday, only on audio though, so get subscribed to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and we'll catch you all every single Friday. For now though, goodbye.
Peace.